Oh, imagine. Imagine making two videos on Marvel Avengers Spider-Man saying it's a joke, saying that it's going to fail, and then go on to play as Spider-Man in the Marvel Avengers game. Well, that's what I did. You can call it hypocrisy, but I'm willing to test the game out to see how it plays, alright? Now, you could also argue that I'm milking this topic, but don't hate the player, hate the YouTube algorithm. You know what I'm saying, man? That's just the way YouTube works. If, one of your videos does well, you gotta make videos on the topic to help grow your channel. No, I'm not gonna be some Marvel Avengers YouTuber. No, I'm not gonna be some negative Nancy YouTuber when it comes to video games. I just made a video yesterday about Halo Infinite. But getting back to the topic, what is the final verdict on the Marvel Avengers Spider-Man, I guess, storyline, we'll call it, or I guess add-on to the game? Well, let's just break it down. Of course, I have to remind you guys to drop a like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Let's get into the video. So, Marvel Avengers Spider-Man released on, I believe it was November 30th, which is actually this past Tuesday. And this game, in of itself, right, when you think about Spider-Man, the IP, you're going to instantly think about the Insomniac version of Spider-Man. That is arguably the greatest Spider-Man game of all time. People are comparing it to Insomniac. And I think the first thing we all need to kind of decipher is that Marvel Avengers has multiple heroes in it, so you really can't compare it to a game that has one exclusive character in it. Fine, right? I will kind of somewhat in this video ignore the atrocious web swinging, but when you're comparing it to one video game dedicated to one character, I understand that point. Alright, so what is Marvel Avengers Spider-Man? What is the add-on consist of? It consists of the character with a chain of, I guess, objectives that you do to unlock the iconic suit. Now, people are calling this chain of objectives the storyline mission for Spider-Man, because Spider-Man doesn't actually have a definitive storyline. It's got about 2 cutscenes, about 6 to 7 character interactions with, like, the lab scientist on the anthill, I guess, outpost that they have in the game. And that's pretty much it. You get the suit, and then you level up the character to whatever the power level is. I'm not that much of a nerd when it comes to this game. I just played the, campaign and basically put it on a shelf for a year. But I did play with Spider-Man for a ridiculous amount of hours the past couple of days. And what I can say is that the web swinging, it's not that great. But when you compare it to other video games, like Spider-Man video games had great web swinging because they were Spider-Man games. Spider-Man is swinging on a cloud in Marvel Avengers, and it reminded me of, like, Spider-Man 1. Now, I do understand that it is, this game's meant for multiple characters, but this is next gen. We're in the year of 2021, too. I understand that the web swinging is not going to be crazy in terms of momentum, in terms of, really being accurate to the Spider-Man character, but come on, bro. We should not be swinging from clouds, right? There should be some type of strategic incentive to play Spider-Man in the New York, I guess, missions that they do have. The Eastern Sea Line or whatever they call it, where there's actual cities. Then I could, play as Spider-Man and swing from those buildings faster than if, I was playing as Captain America. There should be some strategic aspect to playing as your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man in the neighborhoods of New York City. You know what I'm saying? So, if you're playing in a map where there's, like, snow and stuff, you're not going to be swinging around as much. But they just let Spider-Man swing from a cloud like Spider-Man 1, the game that was made in, like, 2002, 2003. It's been, like, 18 years. We should have seen some innovation with the web swinging. The other thing is combat. Now, combat is actually interesting here because I actually thought the combat of itself was great, right? The actual combat, when you unlock the moves, and some people are saying that the moves have to be unlocked, which is annoying. No, that's the part of progressing Spider-Man in any game, right? So you unlock new moves for Spider-Man in this game, and once you unlock all the combat moves, damn, like, it's like night and day when you compare it to the web swinging. The combat is sick. The web shooting's kind of a meme. I've made a bunch of jokes about it. But when you're actually punching enemies, when you are zip lining in midair and doing a bunch of combos, it does feel like a Spider-Man game, right? So the combat is pretty solid once you unlock all the moves, and then, you're basically Spider-Man and all of its glory when it comes to the actual combat. So that is combat in a nutshell. I pretty much summed that up in like 30 seconds. Yeah, it takes some time to unlock the moves, but once you do it, it's gonna feel like your, traditional webhead. Now, the other thing that honestly just puts a bad taste in my mouth is the actual storyline, because it's not a storyline. It is like, mission objectives, and you can basically do them in any mission, but it doesn't feel like a storyline. Let me back up a sec. So Spider-Man in this game is basically got one cutscene where he meets the Avengers. Then you do like about 15 to 16, they call them missions. They're not missions. You fight, do combos in midair with an enemy 10 times. I guess complete like signature moves, and you do those like 20 times. You web up an exo 15 times. It's stupid objectives that are more or less challenges, and they're calling them missions. Now, once you do a certain amount of objectives, you start meeting with this girl named Liz in the anthill, which is like the scientist person. You meet with her like 5 or 6 times, and then do another set of objectives. And there's like one other cutscene where you're meeting with somebody or talking to somebody from like the monitor of the screen. Long story short, there's no storyline with Spider-Man. And when you think about it, right, when you think about the controversy about Spider-Man only being a PlayStation exclusive, well, I mean, no one's complaining about Insomniac's Spider-Man only being a PlayStation exclusive, and that has a whole storyline within it. The decision for Square Enix to not give Spider-Man, the definitive Marvel character with tons of villains to choose from, no storyline at all, is more or less a business decision for their own personal gain and to prevent the devs from being burnt out than anything else. It has nothing to do with caring about the fans of, Marvel's Avengers and, saying, oh, the PC and Xbox players are going to get left out. No. If they actually had the bandwidth in terms of developer output, if they actually wanted to, they could have given us a decent Spider-Man storyline the way they did with the War for Wakanda DLC, which was like Black Panther back in August. And that was actually a great storyline. I enjoyed that a lot. But yeah, this Spider-Man DLC, in terms of the character itself, is good. In terms of the storyline, it's awful. If you are looking for a storyline, or you're looking to play as Spider-Man in a video game and you have a PlayStation, you should definitely play the Insomniac version of Spider-Man, the Spider-Man PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5 remastered game. And then after that, you should play PlayStation Miles Morales' Spider-Man. It's like a $40 or $50 game. Both the definitive Insomniac games, Spider-Man PlayStation 4/PlayStation 5, and the Miles Morales, additional game. Those are the games that you should be playing if you want to play as Spider-Man in a video game. Those are the gold standard games for Spider-Man. Now, if you've completed those games, and this is kind of the final verdict here, if you've completed Spider-Man PlayStation 4 and all of its DLC, and you've completed Miles Morales, the missions and the whatever side quests they have too, to really enjoy the actual full potential of him. If you completed both of those games, and you're waiting for the Insomniac Spider-Man, 2 version that's coming out for the PlayStation 4, I think that's coming out in 2023. If you're waiting on that, and you've completed the other 2 games that I mentioned, Spider-Man and Miles Morales from Insomniac, then yeah, I guess while you're waiting for Spider-Man 2, you can play as Spider-Man in the Marvel Avengers game. But at the end of the day, there's no storyline. The combat is decent, but the enemies also feel like bullet sponges, because it's kind of like a mobile game where you're doing damage to a character, but because of the level of your Spider-Man character, you're only doing 1,000 damage as opposed to 2,000 damage when you level him up. I don't know, man, it just kind of puts a bad taste in my mouth. The whole way the Marvel Avengers game is kind of set up to be, it's just like repetitive missions, the 2 same types of, enemies, and then the fact that Spider-Man has no storyline, it's just kind of like bleh. Once you unlock that iconic suit like I did, there's nothing to look forward to other than maybe leveling up the other characters that, you know, exist in this Marvel Avengers game, but like, I don't know. That's just how I feel. I really wish there was a storyline. If there was a storyline, I think I would have definitely recommended this, especially for people that, you know, have the game already. But if you are, you know, having the game on the shelf and you haven't even played the Spider-Man, you know, Insomniac games yet, you got to get on those Insomniac games because they're just amazing. But the other thing that is just so ridiculous to me is the fact that they don't have like any costumes that you can get for free without spending money. Each costume that I'm showing you guys on the screen ranges anywhere from like $5 to $9, and there's actually a ridiculous amount of costumes to choose from if you're willing to spend your money. It almost seems like Square Enix decided, well, you know, Spider-Man has a lot of different costumes. We could really milk this for some cash here. And they just decided to throw in like 80 different costumes that you can't earn from in-game, you know, gameplay. And instead, you are forced to spend your hard-earned cash on cosmetics for Spider-Man. Like, that's a whole other thing that I just don't really like about this whole integration with Spider-Man in the Avengers game. At the end of the day, if you are wanting to play as Spider-Man while Thor is also swinging a hammer at the enemy at the same time, then I guess that's also another reason to play it. But if you're just looking for a solid quality game to play as Spider-Man, Avengers is not the game for you. So I hope you all did enjoy this video. Don't forget to drop a like, subscribe if you're new, and also comment down below what you think about these takes. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Comment them down below. I'm Cryptix. Gonna go back to playing as Miles Morales for the next, you know, 10 to 12 months before Spider-Man 2 comes out. And signing off.